Have you ever felt like you're doing all the right things? You're working on your mindset, you're doing the affirmations, you're visualizing success, but you're still stuck? Well, today we're going to dismantle that whole idea. We're going to show you why your brain might actually be working against you and, more importantly, how to fix it.
So let me ask you this. Do you ever feel like you're just one single aha moment away from it all clicking? You know, that if you could just get that one breakthrough, everything would finally fall into place. But that moment just never seems to arrive? It's an incredibly frustrating cycle, and it turns out there's a very real psychological reason for it.
And here's the core of it. This one sentence just completely challenges what so much of the self-help world is built on. We've been told over and over that if we just think positively enough, our actions and our confidence will magically follow. But what if that whole formula is completely backward?
Yeah, let's just call it what it is, the right mindset myth. We're about to dive into why waiting for motivation to strike is one of the biggest, most subtle traps that keeps you from ever reaching your goals.
Okay, so this really lays out the whole problem. The common belief, the one we're all sold, is on the left. First, you get the right mindset, then you take action, and then you get confidence. Simple, right? But the psychological truth is actually the complete opposite. Action has to come first. That action creates evidence, and that evidence is what builds real, unshakable confidence.
See, your brain doesn't really learn through inspiration or wishful thinking. It learns through cold, hard proof. So let's get into why your brain needs actual physical evidence before it's willing to change its beliefs about you. This is the key. You can stand in the mirror and repeat an affirmation 1,000 times, but if your actions all day long contradict that affirmation, which one do you think your brain is going to believe? It trusts what you do, not just what you say you'll do. It needs tangible proof. Think about it like you're holding a deck of cards. You can sit there and imagine the perfect shuffle, you can visualize dealing yourself the winning hand, but absolutely nothing happens until you physically pick up the cards and move them. It's the action itself that creates the evidence and makes the outcome you want even possible.
So, if action is the secret sauce, what's stopping us? Well, it's something called the avoidance trap. It's this sneaky way our brain tries to protect us from discomfort, but in doing so, it actually keeps us completely stuck. You know, every single time we dodge something we're scared of, we get this little hit of temporary relief. Crisis averted. But what we're also doing is teaching our brain, hey, that thing really is dangerous and we should definitely avoid it again. So the anxiety actually gets stronger next time. And boom, you're in a vicious cycle. So how does this whole avoidance thing actually show up in our day-to-day lives? It shows up through what psychologists call safety behaviors. A safety behavior is really anything you do to stop a feared outcome from happening. But here's the catch. By doing that, you also prevent yourself from ever learning that you could have handled it. You completely short-circuit that whole evidence-building process we've been talking about.
Do any of these sound a little too familiar? People-pleasing just to avoid any hint of conflict. Or how about rehearsing what you're going to say next in your head instead of actually listening to the other person? Saying yes to every single request, even when you're screaming no on the inside? These are all classic safety behaviors, where we trade long-term confidence for a tiny bit of short-term comfort.
Okay, so we've identified the problem, right? We're waiting for a feeling that isn't coming, and our safety behaviors are keeping us locked in place. To break free, we have to understand where we actually have power to act, and the solution lies in this really cool metaphor, the hourglass.
So imagine an hourglass. All that sand at the top, that represents the future. It's where all our anxieties live. The what-ifs, the endless planning, the worrying about a million outcomes we can't control. It is absolutely exhausting to live up there.
Now, all the sand that's already fallen to the bottom, that's the past. It's filled with regrets, old mistakes, and rumination. You know, that mental hamster wheel where we replay things over and over and over. Living down there can feel a lot like being stuck in a loop of depression.
But that tiny little neck in the middle of the hourglass, the part where only one grain of sand can pass through at a time, that is the present moment. It's the only place we have any power. It's the only place we can actually do anything. It's where change happens, it's where we take action, and it's where we build that precious evidence for our brain.
Okay, so live in the present sounds great and all, but how in the world do you actually do it? Well, here is a super simple, practical tool you can use literally today. It's called the 3-minute rule.
The idea is so simple it's almost genius. Just pick one thing you've been putting off, that email, that phone call, cleaning that one corner of the room, and commit to doing it for just 3 minutes. That's it. The goal isn't to finish it. The goal is to give your brain physical proof that you can start, that it's survivable, and that it isn't nearly as scary as you built it up to be.
Just 3 minutes. That's it. Come on. Anyone can do pretty much anything for 3 minutes. It lowers the barrier to getting started so much that your brain doesn't even have time to argue with you. It's the smallest possible action, and it becomes your very first piece of new evidence.
And you know, that little 3-minute action, it isn't just a one-off trick. It's actually the very first deposit into what we're going to call your evidence bank.
Think of it like a savings account, but for your confidence. Every time you use that 3-minute rule, or you choose a small, brave action instead of a safety behavior, you make a deposit. And over time, these tiny little deposits start to compound, building up this massive reserve of real-world evidence that proves to your brain that you are capable. This is how you build genuine self-worth, not through hype, but through action.
And I want to leave you with this idea, because it really reframes the whole thing. The goal isn't to become fearless. That's impossible. The real goal is to build a life that is so rich, so meaningful, and so full of evidence of your own capability that your fears just don't have the same power over you anymore. You grow a life that is bigger than your fears. So my question for you is, what's the first 3-minute deposit you're going to make today?